Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Health, Wellness, and Wellbeing Hour here on Chalk Community Radio, the station that keeps you connected. And I'm your host, Charles Olorunfemi. And in case you're joining us for the very first time, this is a show designed to improve health literacy, address health inequalities, and to promote quality health. So I do hope that you're doing well out there and that all is going well as you progress on your individual health journeys. Remember that health is the greatest asset that we have. And so let's protect it with every small, consistent step that we take each day. Because what we're doing is that we're investing in our future. And when we invest in our future, yes, we invest in everything good that we expect out of this life. So folks, so we've survived January. We're now well into February, and even though it's still cold, it's still rainy out there are small signs of change, which for me, I'm extremely happy. Small signs of change in the sense that the days are slowly getting longer, and there's little more light in the morning and in the evenings, and it's often the month where people begin to feel quite. They begin to feel a quiet shift in the sense that we now know that winter will not last forever. So, we're almost there. We're almost into spring. Now, February is also an interesting month. It's an interesting month because even though it's the shortest month of the year, it carries a lot of emotional weight. And I say that in the sense that it sits between reflection and renewal. A time where many people they start checking in with themselves, their goals, and their relationships. And of course, February also brings Valentine's Day, doesn't it? It brings Valentine's Day, which is a moment that puts love firmly in the spotlight. But love, we all know that it's not just about the roses, it's not just about the chocolates, it's not just about the romance or the grand gestures. It's also about connection, it's about communication, it's about emotional safety and how we care for ourselves and others. So as the spotlight turns to Valentine's and love this month of February, the Health, Wellness and Wellbeing Hour and Global Village Media will be presenting a Valentine's Week Wellbeing series. So it's a well-being series titled Love in All Its Forms. And today's conversation will kicks off the series. Now, across the week, what we'll be doing is that we'll be exploring love beyond romance, how it shows up in our communication, how love shows up in our relationships, our boundaries, and our sense of self. Now, we'll also be reflecting on how connection, emotional safety, and respect, how all these things, how they all influence well-being at every stage of life. And while Valentine's Week focuses on the grand gestures, as we've heard, and the romantic ideals, these conversations that we will be having, they're about everyday realities of love beyond beyond the first initial infatuations of love. So that way, it supports each and every one of us to look into ourselves, challenge ourselves, and sometimes just reflect on what's good or maybe what's not so good in those relationships. So throughout the conversation series, you'll hear from practitioners, clinicians, community voices, each person bringing insight to help us think more clearly about relationships, about self-worth, and about well-being. And to open up the series, we're starting off with a powerful and timely question. And that question is, let me say it again. When does love help us find our voice? And when does it slowly shrink our voice? And to help us answer this question, I'm joined by one of our very own from Tokyo Community Radio, Angela Morris. Good afternoon, Angela, and thank you for joining us on the Health, Wellness and Wellbeing Hour.
Good afternoon, Charles, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really honoured and excited to be here.
Extremely honored. Okay, thank you so much. Now, before we get on with it, let me give you a proper introduction. Now, Angela Morris is a business consultant, applied psychology therapist, and the author of the Don't Let Them Stop You book series, empowering both adults and young people to communicate clearly, set healthy boundaries, and back themselves with confidence. Angela is also the founder of Clarity Work Publishing, the host of the weekly Don't Let Them Stop You radio show right here on Choco Community Radio. And she's also the creator of the podcast series of the same name. Angela has an MSc in applied psychology, and with over 25 years of experience leading within the health and social care sector. Now, Angela brings a deep understanding of how communication, power, and emotional safety shape our experiences in the workplace and in our closest relationships. At the heart of Angela's work is a clear mission, helping people stand firm, find their voice, and ensure that love in any form never makes them feel less as an individual. Angela, thank you so much for joining us, and it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Before we move on, anything that you might want to add to the introduction that our listeners might want to know about you?
No, oh, sorry, hold on. You've done an amazing sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's my mum calling of all the times, right? So you've done an amazing amazing introduction. Thank you so much. No, we're fine. Yeah.
Mom must know that we're talking about love this afternoon, so
I
that's
tell
why
you, because
she's probably
she never
calling to say, Angela, I love you.
yeah. And sometimes, you know what? My mum
Yeah.
actually does that.
Yo,
She
wonderful,
does.
wonderful,
She said,
wonderful.
"I'm just calling to say I love you, and I really
Oh,
appreciate you,"
and
which is
that's
so
wonderful.
sweet.
Thank you,
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
very sweet.
so
All
sweet.
right, awesome, good stuff. Okay, Angela. So, before we continue, we're going to go through our quick this or that series. Okay,
Okay.
just pick one instinctively, no necessarily overthinking. If you want, you can say a quick why, and
Mm-hmm.
then we move on. So, first question: speaking up early or staying quiet to keep the peace?
Speaking up early.
Thank you. Clear boundaries or being endlessly flexible?
Clear boundaries.
Good. Difficult conversation now or resentment later?
Difficult conversation now.
Good. Being liked or being respected?
Being respected.
Explaining yourself again or pausing the conversation?
Um, explaining yourself again.
Okay. Apologizing quickly or taking time to reflect first?
Depends on what it is. I would say that, yeah, that's the kind of, but my initial thought would be taking time to reflect.
Time to reflect. Okay, good. Listening to respond or listening to understand?
Listening to understand.
Good. One honest conversation, or I'm sorry, one honest conversation or months of silent discomfort.
Oh, one honest conversation, Charles.
I bet. Yeah. And then protecting the relationship or protecting your voice.
Protecting your voice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So it wasn't really about winning. It's just about understanding emotional safety and self-respect. So thank you for that, Angela. So if you're joining us if you're just joining in or just tuning in, you're listening to the Health, Wellness and Wellbeing Hour on Tokyo Community Radio. And today's conversation is part of our Love in All Its Forms, a Valentine's Week Wellbeing series, when love shapes or shrinks our voice. Now, Angela, please let me start off by saying we often say that love should feel supportive, but from your experience, how do people know when love is helping them to grow or is quietly shrinking their voice?
Very good question, Charles. Very good question to start off with. So, you know that love that helps you grow has quite a distinctive quality. And that is it's curious about you. So it asks that what do you think, and then actually waits for the answer.
Okay.
Right. It celebrates you when you try something new, even if it's different to what the other person would choose.
Okay.
Love that shrinks your voice, thinks it already has the answers, and will even finish your sentences. makes decisions on your behalf. Oh, because it's easier.
Yeah,
And somehow you find yourself getting smaller and quieter over time. And the test is really simple, Charles. After spending time with this person, do you feel more like yourself or less like yourself?
That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. And that means sometimes that could be something that subtly creeps into a relationship quietly, couldn't it?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
without people realizing it. Yeah, yeah. And why do you sometimes, or why do we sometimes accept communication? Because a lot of times we accept certain communication in our personal or in our close relationships that we wouldn't tolerate at work or with people who are not so close to us.
Yeah, and that's quite fascinating, isn't it? So,
Mm-mm,
so if let's just say you're at work, if you had somebody that was constantly interrupting you, dismissing your ideas, or making you look silly,
mm,
you'd probably go, "Look, I'm going to speak to HR, or I'm going to
mm,
look for another job."
mm, mm,
But when we're at home, we tell ourselves stories. So we say things like, "Oh, they're just tired," or "That's just how
mm,
they are," and I think we've kind of brought um, into this idea because we think that love means accepting everything and that real intimacy doesn't have any boundaries.
mm,
Um,
mm, mm,
but
mm.
in reality, the people closest to us should treat us better than our colleagues do, not worse. So I
Absolutely.
think what's happened is, a lot of us we've confused love with tolerance
Mm,
when love should really have like a respect as a baseline. It's not like an
yeah.
optional extra.
Mm, mm, mm. And that's funny, really, isn't it? Because we spend a lot more time with our loved ones
Yes.
than we do with our colleagues at work. So
Well, depending on how many hours you spend at work.
that
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah,
but there
yeah,
is a
yeah,
thing where there's a line that we wouldn't tolerate or
yeah.
shouldn't
Mm,
tolerate.
mm, 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 mm.
And I do think it is where we have kind of bought into some people have bought into this idea that we can excuse a lot of things
Yeah,
in our
yeah, absolutely.
relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to talk about, I know we'll talk more about your books a bit
Yeah,
later on.
later. That's
But
fine.
I know in one of your books in the in the series you emphasize on a few different relationships. So
Yes.
starting off with, if we think about the codependent dynamics,
Hmm.
so if we're thinking about co-dynamic relationships, where people often prioritize keeping the relationship calm over being honest. Now,
Hmm.
what does that do to the way that someone communicates? What does that, let me say it again, what does that do to the ways people communicate over time?
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
I think what happens is when you take that approach,
yeah.
peace at all costs, really.
Mm-hmm.
You do what I call like relationship management communication, right? So every word is calculated on your side to keep things smooth. So you're not actually communicating anymore, though. What is happening is you're performing.
Mm,
Um, your vocabulary starts shrinking, so you stop saying things like, "Oh, that hurt me,"
mm,
or "I need this," because you know it's going to cause ripples. And then what happens is you do become very good at reading the room.
mm.
You start to predict what the reaction is going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And also you get good at smoothing things over, or, just to not think. So the sadness of it is you become fluent in everybody else's language and forget your own language.
Mm,
And here's the thing, you think you're being loving by keeping the peace, but you're actually teaching that relationship that honesty is not welcome.
mm. Honest, no honest and open communication. No.
No, no.
Yeah. So, and it seems that that person is gradually losing themselves just to keep the love,
Yes, absolutely.
just to keep the
Absolutely. And what I
relationship.
will
Yeah,
interject here is that,
yeah.
certainly a lot of these things are also tied to how we are raised, our
Mm.
upbringing as
Mhm,
children. So
mhm, mhm,
if we're
mhm.
taught to be quiet and we're taught to be compliant and we're taught not to rock the boat, which many of us from our community are taught exactly, certainly not so much the younger generation because they're all taught, but our generation more
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
We
yeah,
so
yeah.
we get cleverer at it
Mm.
because we don't want to. We've learned like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah,
hold that
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Respect the authorities and
Yeah,
respect and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, rather than speak out. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And how can love slowly turn into self-silencing? self-silence, and why does that feel like? Why does that feel? Because first of all, it might feel like safety,
You took the
isn't it?
words out of my mouth.
Yeah,
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 because
yeah.
it at first it does feel like it's
Mm,
safer. It's a
mm,
safer option. You feel safe. Um, and let's put an example. Let's just say you share something that matters to you.
mm,
Um, and then you share that, but then it causes an argument,
mm,
or even tears,
mhm,
or
mhm.
days of tension. So what you do is the next time you go, in your head you think, I'm not gonna, I just won't mention it, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't mention anything.
Mm,
What happens? Nothing. So nothing bad happens.
mhm,
And in
mhm.
fact, things are really kind of nice because you haven't rocked the boat. So
Yeah,
you do
yeah,
it again and then
yeah.
again, again. And so
Mm, mm,
before long, you've created this version of yourself that
mm,
you think it's easier for the relationship.
mm.
Um, and what does the relationship reward you with? Peace and affection. The problem with that is the peace is built on your silence.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you've traded your voice for calm, and somewhere deep down, you know that's not the same as being
Mhm,
loved
mhm.
for who you actually are.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're just this silent individual that never really says what they think, how they feel, or challenges
yeah,
things that
yeah,
may
yeah.
happen in the relationship that you're not happy with.
Mm, 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 mm. And is it? I mean, have you seen maybe situations whereby a person has done it maybe just for a temporary reason because of maybe a person's not well, or particular, or maybe because they're caring for someone? Do any, or does that work in a
Yeah,
way that people are
I
doing it
think I think this.
temporarily? Mm.
Yeah, I think they're kind of excuses,
Is
really.
it? Is
Yeah,
it?
because at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Mm,
if somebody's not well, under the weather, is that the right time to raise an issue? No, but when they're better, you raise it,
mm,
right?
mm.
But that's not the same as, oh, I'll just do it then, because what happens is, because we're only human, we start sliding down this pathway. So
Yeah.
if you can't do it when they're not well, when is it going to
Mm,
be better?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we say, and if they're on hospital and life support, then you can't say anything anyway. But if they've got the flu in bed, they
Mhm,
can still you
mhm.
can still have a discussion. So they're
Yeah.
not going to suddenly
Yeah.
deteriorate into some.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, I like to describe it as the stories we tell ourselves. We give ourselves reason. Oh, but really, it's
It's
avoidance. That's what it
avoidance.
is. Yeah,
Absolutely.
avoidance.
Right, good. Thank you for that. And then there's another kind of relationship, which is the parental style relationship. Now, in love relationships, if I can use that word,
Mm-hmm.
the dynamic is supposed to be equality, isn't it? I'm
Yeah.
believing. Yeah. Okay. Good. And then, because obviously in our parents' relationships, growing up, parents, there's no equality in that relationship, at least maybe until we get a bit older, But in the parental style relationship, so we see that equality begins to disappear.
Yeah.
And then, so when one partner starts to act like the responsible one, so maybe feeling more equal than the other one, and then the other one's feeling maybe more like a child. So, how does
Hmm.
that change respect and emotional balance within that relationship?
Okay. So yeah, and this is one of my favorite. I love
Mm,
this parent. I love that.
mhm.
Not I love the subject
Yeah,
because it happens a lot and people don't realize it's happening,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So, for example, when that person starts to be like the responsible one, there is something that's shifting in how
Mm,
you perceive each other,
mm,
right?
mm, mhm,
So, um, the responsible one, they kind of start to see their parent, the person, their partner with a mixture of frustration,
mhm.
pity, start saying things like, "Oh, I have to do everything around here," right? And then the other person,
Mm,
they either start to rebel against being managed, right?
mhm,
Or they lean
mhm.
into the helplessness story, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Again, because it's easier.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, and what happens to respect then? Well, respect starts to evaporate because you
Mm,
can't really respect someone that you're parenting, right? And you can't, and we're talking about adults here, we're not talking about children, just to be
yeah,
very
yeah,
clear,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you can't respect someone who treats you like you're incompetent,
Mm, mm,
right? So what
mm.
you do is you end up with resentments on both sides, and that
Right.
relationship has then lost its equality.
Mm.
So then again, they're not partners anymore. These are roles that we're playing within the
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. That's yeah, that is something though, isn't it? Again, and thanks for that. And what impact does that dynamic have on on confidence, decision making, and emotional well-being. Again, within that relationship.
Yeah. So what you've got is you've got the person who's being parented. Let's talk about them first.
Yeah.
So that what happens is they stop trusting their own judgment to the sometimes almost entirely,
Wow.
and then they don't function in
Mm,
their own right at all.
mm,
So
mm,
start second guessing yourself every
mhm,
decision. Then
mhm,
you're waiting for permission,
mhm,
and then what's happening is you're developing a kind of learned helplessness. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
that person who's being parented, basically their confidence is slowly being drained away,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
On
yeah,
the other side, the person who's been the responsible one for is actually exhausted and actually resentful, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes they can even develop anxiety because they're carrying everything,
yeah.
right? So
Burnout. Yeah, yeah.
neither person is really thriving, right? And over time and talk, I've seen people lose this, and we probably all have done that. Seen people lose their self
Mm,
or the sense of who they are.
yeah.
They don't know what they want to think, or they don't know how to think. They don't know what they want because
Mm,
someone else has been doing the thinking and wanting for them for so long.
yeah.
So really, it's emotionally devastating for people,
Yeah.
both people, just in different ways. So it's not a blaming; it's
Mm.
just the construct, and no one has been able to pull back and go, well, actually, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Right? Let
Doesn't
yeah.
seem to be working. Yeah,
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 and
yeah,
not
yeah.
and not challenging the approach or the behavior.
Mm. So would there be something maybe like a wake up call, or how would that decision be made, or that realization that you know we're not really acting as if we are equal, but we're acting as if someone is a parent and someone's not.
Yeah, I think when it comes to just decision making, so
Mm,
I would say think about the last time you made a decision without having to consult the other
the
person.
other person.
And it can be sometimes it starts off with maybe large things, but it can be the smallest things like where shall we go and eat for dinner, going out for dinner. And you
Mm,
say something like, I'll do what you want. I'll go where you want to go.
all the
You know,
time.
I like what you like. It reminds me of Eddie Murphy. Do you remember the Coming to America? And she's like, "What do you like? I like what you like."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and and
Bark like
and
a
so
dog.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
but actually, it's not healthy.
mm,
Because then the other person subconsciously is under pressure now to make
to
decisions,
make
and
decisions.
they may not feel like making a decision. It's like, no, let's make a decision.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it's good if you are the parent to say to that parent, if you're in that parenting position, I should say,
Yeah.
if you want to start setting that, freeing yourself and freeing the other person, you say to
Mm,
them, no, you make a decision. I'm
yeah,
waiting for you.
yeah. So
And we'll go with, and whatever you say is fine because it's your decision.
you got a decision.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Thanks for that. So we've looked at the codependent dynamics or the
Yeah.
codependent relationship. We've looked at the parental style relationship.
Mhm.
Coercive control. And of late, coercive control has kind of been a big thing, in the media, in the news. Um, first of all, please explain what it actually means, coercive control within the relationship.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's about subtly control. It's quite insidious, and yes, there's a lot of it in the media. In the point that people actually going to court and being
Yeah,
arrested for
yeah,
coercive
yeah.
control.
Hmm.
So the root of it though is a subtle coercion um to get the person to literally just do whatever you want them to do. Not the same as a parental
Hmm.
relationship. Not
Hmm.
the This has a darker tone to it.
Mm, mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm,
Because underlying with coercive control is a sense of threat. So the subtle signs are about access and information.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So and again, it might look like just I'm looking after your interests.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
looking out for you, but it's not healthy because what's happening over time is that you're not really communicating at all, and you're literally being literally dictated to.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's like a thing like, does your partner need to know where you are at all times?
all times. Yeah.
But that's not about caring, but they're checking. Two
exactly.
different things.
Control, absolutely.
Monitoring where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way money's managed, do you always end up having to ask? Do they have opinions about what you wear, who you see, how you spend your time? And somehow their opinion always wins. Oh, I don't think you should be hanging out with that person. Oh, I don't think that person, oh, why are you wearing that?
Yeah.
I'm wearing it because I want to wear it. It's my
Mm.
clothes.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's done in a way, and I think the
Mm.
key thing is the coercion is
Mm.
not done in a very overt way. So
Yeah.
it's kind of wrapped around
Mm.
um trying to help. And also they're saying like they're helping you, but are they really helping you?
Or or
And
controlling.
you end up almost kind of always monitoring yourself to the point that you don't realize that they're actually doing the monitoring, but you're constantly
Yeah.
self,
Mm.
regulating yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about the course of control, it doesn't always involve shouting or
No.
threats like other types of abuse, you know. And you have any other subtle communication signs that people might need to look out for, you know.
Yeah.
You
I
mentioned
mean,
some choices, didn't you?
yeah. Like so,
Yeah.
for example, like if they're trying to, under the guise of again helping
Hmm.
you to manage your emotions,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like you want to be angry and they're trying to manage you not, oh, don't be angry about it. Um, don't be angry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're entitled to have those emotions.
Of
So
course.
again, it comes to the be again be more rational.
Hmm.
You
So,
know,
yeah.
so it's like, oh, you need to think about this more rationally. Well, no, I don't actually need to think about it more rationally. These are my thoughts,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
is how I feel.
Have
But so when
entitled.
I say threat, yes, it's not shouting. It's very calm, actually. It's never about
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if you're obviously going to be aggressive, people are going to run away, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Mm,
not that you're not they're not being aggressive about it, but
mm,
you're constantly then. So even at the time, you might be like, oh, okay, maybe, and you're thinking maybe I am being over emotional.
yeah.
Maybe I am, and you're constantly questioning yourself to the
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
that you're not sure who you are.
Yeah. 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 The next question was actually about that. Why do people often doubt themselves? Why do people often doubt themselves in these kind of situations, even when they kind of feel that something is not right?
Because the person approaches it from a calm manner. So if
Mm,
you're having an argument and the person says, "Yeah, well, you're always like this and blah blah blah," you can do your instinct is, "Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to defend myself." But someone's coming to you calmly and saying, "You know, I think you're just being a bit over the top about this," and they're not shouting.
mm,
That's the peace that very calm, very rational, very concerned about you, and they'll say things like, I'm just trying to help. Like if you get a bit defensive, I'm just trying to help. And then when you question it, it's like, oh, you're being ungrateful now that I'm trying to help you, or I'm being difficult.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the challenge there is that you start to trust their version
Mm,
of reality more than your own. Because remember,
more
we
than
all
yours.
have different versions of what our reality is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's it's like gaslighting wrapped in concern. And the thing is, when you're inside it, it's very confusing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Definitely.
you're confused. So you're trying to regulate yourself. So you see how emotionally,
Mm,
internally complex it
yeah.
gets
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
and the main point though is that you feel like you can't express yourself
Mm,
and
yeah.
still be loved.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That means something bad is going to happen
Mm,
if I speak up.
yeah. Yeah.
But the reality is nothing bad is actually going to happen
Mm, mm.
because if something really bad
Yeah.
happens you have to call the police.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like what you said there. That gaslighting wrapped up as concerned. That
Yes.
that that shows why such a person will be so confused and continue to
Yeah,
doubt themselves,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Okay, good stuff. And then a similar kind of relationship, which I hope you will be able to show us the difference. So that was a coercive, controlled form of relationship. How would that be a lot different from a narcissistic relationship?
Well, actually,
Is there much
coercive control,
difference? Mm,
yeah, coercive control comes from narcissism.
right.
The root of it is because
Okay.
narcissism is really somebody who feels that the world and everybody else should revolve around them,
Hmm.
and they always make themselves the star of the show,
Hmm.
no matter
Hmm.
what's going on. You
Mm.
know, you could have just had a bereavement, but they're somehow going to make it about them. And no, no, it's true. You're laughing, but it's true.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
make it
I
about
am.
them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Somehow they manage to shift it so
Mm.
the focus is on them.
On them.
And you're like,
Yeah,
well, I'm the one going through this,
yeah, yeah,
but they
yeah.
make it about them. So,
Mm.
but all of the corrosive control stuff comes from narcissism
Mm.
because,
Mm.
which is a very complex, I mean, there's loads of different narcissists, by the way.
Yeah.
And again, these are terminologies that were used in psychology years
Mm.
ago, but has
Mm.
now come to the forefront.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what you get then is people start confusing narcissism. So now, if you have an opinion, sometimes they're going to call you a narcissist. No, do
No.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's close control arises from the narcissistic trait.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. And then in those relationships, where one person, like I've just explained, needs to dominate, how does communication slowly become about managing reactions rather than sharing truth?
Yeah, because what happens is communication in a relationship should be about connecting because you know
Yeah,
you connect
yeah,
with people, right? But
yeah.
then what happens is it starts shifting. It becomes about survival.
Mm.
If I say this, how are they going to react? If I need that, how I'm going to react? Even if I'm
Mm.
upset, how is it going to how's my upset that's going to affect them? So it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
you're not actually communicating. What you're doing is performing what I would call emotional management,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Hmm.
So you're hyper vigilant, reading every mood shift, adjusting yourself constantly based on how that person's
Yeah,
mood is. So
yeah.
you're now tying yourself into how they're behaving to decide how you're going to behave,
Hmm.
which is exhausting, right? And
Definitely.
somehow the thing is with that, even if you do everything right, it still ends up being again about their needs, their
Mm.
feelings, their experience, and your inner world just disappears from the conversation
Yeah,
entirely. And
yeah.
it's never about how you're feeling and what you need. It's always
Mm.
about what they're doing and what they need.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm. And then what happens then emotionally when someone feels constantly unseen, constantly unheard, or always being blamed, even
Yeah.
when they're trying to communicate calmly?
Yeah. Um, well, it's kind of it's a type of loneliness, isn't it? I suppose when
Mm.
you're trying to communicate calmly without drama and it just doesn't land, or worse, it gets twisted back, put on you. You're
Mm.
too demanding, you're too needy, you're making problems where there are no problems, right? Over time, people in the situation they just go into what I would call like an emotional shutdown
Mm.
because it hurts too much to keep reaching out and being missed. So they just stop. And so you might be in the relationship physically, but emotionally, you've gone somewhere else, somewhere inside yourself, you've gone somewhere
Yeah,
safer.
yeah, yeah.
And the real tragedy, Charles, is that they start to believe the narrative. Maybe I am the problem.
Wow.
Maybe my needs are
Mm.
too much. Maybe
Mm.
I should just be grateful for what I have,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is not the basis of true relationship, is it?
No, no, no,
Yeah,
definitely. Because someone's whole self-esteem and self-worth,
yeah,
self-value gets just basically taken away, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, based on the way you've described that. Yeah. Thank you for that insight. Really appreciate that. So moving on. So what's the moment then when, because obviously awareness, if anybody's in any of these relationships, awareness, I guess, would be key in maybe trying to find a way or trying to find a way of escape from any kind of detrimental relationship. So what's the moment when awareness actually begins? When someone finally realizes that this isn't just miscommunication, it's something deeper is actually happening.
Yeah, and you know what? Oftentimes, like anything, it always starts with something small,
Mm,
right? It's those small things that starts to crack it open.
yeah,
So
yeah.
someone might make a comment like, "Does he always speak to you like that?" Or she. because sometimes they're female, not it's not all male. And this is the
Yeah,
other thing.
yeah,
People make
absolutely.
narcissism a really male dominated trait,
Mm-hmm,
which it is,
mm-hmm.
but women have
Yeah,
it too, right? So
okay.
let's be
Mm,
clear about that.
yeah.
They might say, "Oh, does she always speak to you like that?" Because
Mm,
you're not aware, but somebody on
mm,
the outside is looking in. Or they might say something like, "You seem so different when you're with them."
mm,
The
mm.
message is you're not being yourself,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sometimes you might be watching something on television and you see something and you go, "Oh my gosh, that's me,"
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, it could be even physical sensations, like you might feel like your stomach knots into goes into knots when the car
When
pulls up,
around.
or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel like you're holding your what I call holding your breath around them,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So,
mm,
um, in terms of that, it can be the little things, and many times that moment of awareness, it's not dramatic.
mm, mm.
It's just this gentle but devastating recognition. This is not right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And how can people begin to reconnect with their own voice? Maybe someone's lost their voice. And yeah, you made a good point there that it could be someone else, maybe sparking them into that awareness.
Mm.
Maybe a moment on the TV. But how can people, apart from those situations, begin to reconnect with their own voice without immediately feeling guilty
Yeah.
or
Again,
afraid of
again,
conflict? Yeah,
we start small. So
yeah.
just start noticing things. Start
Mm,
noticing, and that starts internally. So start noticing what you actually think, even if you
mm,
don't say it out loud yet. Notice when you're kind of censoring yourself.
okay.
Um, Notice when you change your mind mid-sentence because you've read the room and you go, oh, I can't say anything there.
Mm,
Just notice it. No judgment. Just
yeah,
notice it, and
yeah.
then pick something really tiny and true. So maybe it's like, let's just say, I'm going to use something really simple. It's random. Let's just say Friday night or Tuesday, you have Chinese,
Yeah.
but really, you're sick. You don't really want it, but you keep having it. And you say something really simple like, actually, I don't really want Chinese tonight. Can we have, I don't know, Greek or Italian or
Yeah.
Caribbean?
Mm,
Um, and rather and maybe saying, I'd rather not do that instead of, because what we do sometimes we go to these elaborate excuses. Instead of
mm,
saying I'd rather not do that, we go
yeah.
for some long story. Um, and the reason but really what we're just saying is I don't want to,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's okay
Yeah.
not to want to,
Yeah.
right?
Of course.
And
Yeah.
and you're not kind of blowing up the relationship when you're doing
Mm,
that. You're testing the relationship,
mm,
um, whether it can handle a real person instead of one that's been managed.
wow.
And yes, there might be a bit of
Mm,
guilt, there might
mm,
be some pushback,
yeah.
but your
Yeah.
voice is like a muscle. The more you
Mm,
use it, the stronger it gets.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Moment of recognition. It can be
Hmm.
unsettling, but at the same time, it
Yes.
can be very, very freeing, the
Yeah,
beginning of
and
freedom. Yeah.
and the thing is, unsettling is okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all right to feel unsettled. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we're so busy running away from feeling uncomfortable,
Mm,
not realizing that uncomfortable, but we're tolerating uncomfortable.
yeah. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
think we're
Yeah.
running away from it, but really we are. You can be functioning on uncomfortable all the time. So will it be unsettling to make a small shift? Yes, of course it is. But you know, the one thing about when you kind of push back a little bit or think, you actually do get, you're like, oh, as I say, what happened? They didn't pack up their bags and leave, you know. And if they
Mm,
sulk,
mm-hmm.
which is, the silent treatment,
Okay.
that's okay. Let them sit in it. It's all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to start trying to make up ground. Oh,
Mm,
well, then start backtracking. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Let them sit in there
mm,
sulking. It's
mm, mm,
fine. They'll be all right. They'll
mm.
be okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Um, and then, so if Valentine's Day were about healthy love rather than romantic gestures, what would you want listeners to reflect on in their closest relationships?
Okay. So
Mm,
going back to the one of the answers I put in the first question, which is,
mm,
do I feel more myself with this person
mm.
or less? And
Yes.
that's
Okay.
a big question,
Mm,
right?
mm.
Can I say no without it becoming a 3 day rut down, shut down, or 3 days of sulking?
Yeah, yeah,
3 days
yeah.
of thing. can I be sad? Can I
Mm,
feel angry? Can I feel uncertain? Can I be messy and still be loved? Because you know
mm.
what? Real love isn't about grand gestures and perfection.
Of course.
That's
Yeah.
for the movies,
Is it?
right? Which is why we like watching movies because we don't
Yeah.
have to participate, right?
Yeah.
That's for the
Yeah.
movies, right?
Mm,
And so
mm,
it's
mm.
not about that. It's about being safe enough
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
to be
mm-hmm.
human with someone,
Mm,
right? It's
mm,
knowing that if you need to have a difficult conversation, that you can,
mm.
right? And that you'll both survive it. Because this is the thing, people, again, a lot of this can come from childhood history of
Absolutely.
not being able to have difficult conversations or
Absolutely.
not having
Yeah.
your voice heard. And it can make you a bit of a target, or you can become somebody's pickings when they
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
work out that you
Mm.
don't really use your voice very
Exactly.
much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of like Valentine's and chocolates being the measure, or grand gestures, or taking, well, not even that now. I think, these young ones, they'll take people on holiday and buy expensive handbags and blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah,
Yep.
blah.
Yep. Yep.
Nice. It's all good, right?
Mm.
But what if we measured the relationship, whether the
Mm.
relationship actually makes room for both parties' full humanity?
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
then
Mm.
it becomes about what you can tolerate
Yeah.
about each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
And everybody's got different tolerations.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And then that leads me on to say, so what then would love look like when it feels safe, when it's mutual, and when it's grounded in respect?
Right. So healthy love feels like breathing room,
Mm.
right? You can disagree and it doesn't threaten the whole relationship.
Mm.
You can say, I need something different, and
Mm-hmm.
it gets heard,
Mm.
not
Mm-hmm.
defended against.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
communication then starts to form mutual. You
Okay.
both ask and you both answer. You both listen and you both share.
Absolutely.
There's accountability. So when
Mm.
someone
Mm.
messes up, they say sorry and mean it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than explaining why it wasn't their fault, getting all defensive. And here's a big one: you both grow not into identical people, but into fuller versions of yourself. So,
Mm.
because love isn't about making someone smaller
Mm.
to fit into your life, it's about making room for who they actually are.
Oh, wonderful. I like that. Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
and that can be the challenge. And especially, I must say, for women, we are inclined, maybe due to our nurturing, um, innate. Some of us have, not everybody's a female that has innate, but we
Mm.
do this thing, ladies, where we are busy trying to convert our partners to make them into our image.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not love either.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're nice, but I want to change this and I want to change that. And it's not subtle, it's going on in our minds, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it's nice, but for this, but for that. No, you've got to take them as they are,
As they are. Mm.
right? It's not about trying to go on this mission to convert, because that's also a more subtle form, actually, of
Mm.
of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
can't, if you don't, you need to give people a chance to grow. But if there's a lot of shortcomings that don't sit right with you, you best not go down that road, because
Right.
it's not going to get any better, because you're
Right.
starting it off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. 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 And then you might continue to have that mindset, though, I'm going to change them,
Yeah, yeah.
which
Forget
is not
it.
going to happen.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, wasting your time and
Mm.
energy.
Hmm.
And even if you are partly successful,
Yeah.
the challenge then is you've then gone into the parent-child relationship
Right, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I love something that you said there, that love is making both parties to the relationship both grow to the fuller versions
of themselves.
of themselves. I love the way you phrase that. So basically, thank you for that, Angela. And so I think that yeah, so love it should expand your voice, isn't it? And not
Yes,
teach you how to disappear, not make you
yes.
disappear, not make your voice disappear. Awesome, thank you so much. I really I wish we had more time to kind of go a bit deeper. But I do want to talk about some of your books and some of your
Mhm.
upcoming events that you might have being planned. So please share with the listeners. Tell us about your books and inspiration behind your books and what made
Right.
you, what got you into that lane. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the first book I wrote was Don't Let Them Stop You. It's personal.
Mm.
And it was a 60th birthday to myself, present
Okay.
to myself, right?
But
I
you
was
don't
like, what
look
are you gonna
60
do?
though, first of it.
Oh, thank you. Everybody says that, it must be true. So so I was like, what am I gonna do for my 60th birthday? And I'd been promising myself over many years, and I'd even started and stopping about writing, and people were always saying, Angela, you should write a book and blah blah blah. But you know what? Everything in the fullness of time, because I got to it, so I'm like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, you're going to write yourself a book. That is your present to yourself.
Oh,
By this time, obviously, then I have children, I have grandchildren.
mm.
So it was a legacy piece for me as well. I thought it'd be
Okay.
nice to put something in the annals, as it were,
Yeah.
that my children that I may never meet will be great great grands. They'll be able to go back and go, oh, your grandma's got a book, your grandma wrote a book. And I think as a black woman, that was really important for me
Wonderful.
to
Wonderful.
inspire them.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So
Yeah.
and that book is really a lot about what we're saying. It's about really reclaiming your voice and your power in the relationships that matter the most with
Mhm,
like your
mhm,
partners, your family, your
mm,
close friends.
mhm,
Why?
mhm,
Because these are the places where we often go silent.
mm,
We tolerate things that we never accept anywhere else.
mhm, mhm.
And also, and the reason why I've called it Don't Let Them Stop You, because you're like, well, how's that? Because sometimes the decisions we make are based on people that we're not even healthily
Yeah.
connected to in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's about how how do you get away from losing yourself,
Mm.
why it happens, and most importantly, how do you find your way back to yourself
Okay.
and being able to make decisions
Mm.
and not necessarily fearing what other people think or the people that are closest to us think, but actually and understanding how the dynamics works.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
so I did that, and then I did a teen version. So
Yeah.
Don't Let Them Stop You, It's personal for teens, which I
Okay.
absolutely love, and I got contributions from my grandkids who are teenagers for that as well.
Hmm.
And that's about how to manage different relationships, not in a
Mm.
rebellious way, but helping them.
Yeah.
And it's got things like about social media, things that us
Yeah.
older people
That's
don't
really key
understand.
for that age
Yeah,
set.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But
Mm.
also, so and in choosing friendships and what they
Mm.
should look
Mm.
like, and
Mm.
so I've got that, and I've got a communication journal, effective communication journal under the Don't Let Them Stop You series,
Okay.
and that one is really about helping people understand themselves when it comes to communication and to get braver in their communication.
Mm.
So the journal has been constructed. It's a very big journal actually. It's been constructed in a way that every month I've put a piece about communication, but
Okay.
also helping them with their moods, helping them identify their mood before they have to go into a difficult
Yeah.
meeting, and then
Mm.
deciding whether they can go into that. And that difficult meeting could be work, could be family, could be
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
got that, and I'm just excited to announce that
Mm.
this week, all things being equal, I will be dropping my fourth book. Don't
Mm.
let them stop you. It's business.
It's business. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And that
Mm.
is about business, but also
Mm.
it's done from an approach of how you personally are and feel and all
Yeah.
the things. But I put some really robust structures in place
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help people get started their own business. So yeah, so I've got that
Wonderful. Yeah.
coming out
Wonderful.
this week. Should be on
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Friday.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
And please tell the listeners where they can get that, where they can
Right.
grab their own copies.
Yep. So the books are available. All my books are available on Amazon.
Okay.
So you just type in "Don't Let Them Stop You." Dot three dots dot dot dot. It's personal. It will
Okay.
all come up on Amazon. And these books are what I call interactive books. So I do have a lot of script in them, but I do so like for example, in the Don't Let Them Stop You, it's personal book.
Okay.
After certain chapters, I get you to make three promises to yourself that you have to write down.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
reinforcing really
Yes.
actions that you
Awesome.
can take.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah.
good stuff. Really good. And one thing also for the teenagers specifically, you're actually preparing them for their later relationships, personal relationships, and workplace relationships. You're preparing them to know what is right, what they should expect, and what they shouldn't tolerate.
Yes,
Isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
I really love that. Yeah,
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 absolutely. So they know what good looks like.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
know what when it is what. when it's not quite right. So I
mm,
use like anecdotal stories and
mhm,
scenarios that young people can relate to, whether it
mm,
be
mm,
with a teacher or in a classroom,
mm, mm, mm,
whether it
mm.
be with, like I say, a group of friends or
Yeah,
even girlfriends and boyfriends. I even go down that. What
yeah,
does healthy look like?
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think we're in a time now where, they are pushing kids to get back to books and get off
Mm.
the
Social media.
tablets for a bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I've
yeah,
got a whole chapter on social media in there as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Getting off it, getting in touch with themselves. In my book, they can write, they can do, there's quizzes in there and stuff,
Mm,
but
mm,
just so
mm.
they can use their brain.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
think.
I think wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Angela, for being a treasure of information. Before I wrap up, please, any final word for our listeners?
Yeah, what I would say, Charles, and to all
Mm,
you lovely listeners out there,
mm,
if you're listening to what we've been discussing today and you
mm,
recognize yourself in anything we've talked about,
mm,
the first thing I want to say is you're not imagining it, right?
mm,
So don't
mm.
rationalize it away. Trust what you're noticing. And second, finding your voice again doesn't mean you have to blow everything up. I'm not telling everybody to go and mash up their relationship. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
it does
yeah.
mean starting to honor what's true for you, even in small
Mm,
ways. Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
It might feel uncomfortable at first. It's a bit like wearing new shoes, get
mm,
adjusted. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
promise you, your voice is still there.
Mm,
So it's
mm,
just
mm.
your voice is waiting for permission to speak, actually,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you deserve relationships where your truth is welcome, where you
Absolutely,
don't have to shrink back to belong.
absolutely.
That's not asking too much. That's the bare minimum. So
Yeah,
I would say be brave,
be brave.
be kind to yourself, and
Also.
don't let them stop you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Be brave, be kind to yourself, and don't let them stop you.
Yeah.
And as we come to an end of today's conversation, I really want to say a big, huge thank you, Angela, for joining us and for sharing your insights with so much honesty and clarity. So today's discussion, it has reminded us that love isn't only about affection or intention. It's also about how we speak, how we listen, and how we feel safe in our relationships. When love is healthy, it expands our confidence, it expands our voice, it expands our sense of worth. And when it isn't, it can quietly teach us to shrink, to second guess ourselves, or to stay silent just in order to keep the peace. A few takeaways to quickly share from what Angela shared with us. Communication is a well being issue. How we're spoken to and how free we feel to speak directly affects our mental and our emotional health. Losing your voice is not the price of love. If love requires constant self silencing, then something important needs attention. Patterns matter more than moments. Occasional conflict, of course, is human, but repeated dismissal, repeated imbalance, or control slowly takes away confidence and safety. Awareness is the first step, as we've heard. Simply recognizing those dynamics can begin to shift how we show up with ourselves and with others. And as we move through Valentine's week, this is an invitation to reflect. Do the relationships in your life, do they allow you to speak freely? Do you feel heard? Do you feel respected? Do you feel emotionally safe? And if not, what small step might you take to reconnect with your voice? Angela, thank you once again for your time and for the
You're
important
welcome.
work that you continue to do around communication, boundaries, and resilience. This conversation forms part of our Love in All Its Forms well-being series, where we're exploring love beyond romance and looking at how it shapes our mental and emotional well-being in everyday life. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, love should expand you, not make you disappear. And also remember that in a world where we can be anything that we want to be, remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Remain blessed.